Once we execute this program, the first prompting is enter principal. Let us assume some 10,000. Then second, enter time. Let us assume 2 years. Then next prompting, enter rate of interest. What do we type? Let me enter some 10. Percentage symbol and all we should not give. Directly only the values. So even though they are float, we can give integers. Then finally, here, we'll get the output directly. So based on this 10%, 2 years, 10,000 by 100, all those things will be calculated. We are going to get 2,000 as output. Yeah. So this is the output which you are going to get. And this is how we are going to use multiple values to read from scanner class and pass those variables to the method instead of values directly. So that every time we execute, we can give our own values. Understood? So I am not executing this program. I recommend you to practice it. Any questions in this or any doubts in this? Anybody? Any questions or any doubts? Parvati, any questions? No. Yeah. So then let us go to the next concept of these methods. So the next concept is, in all my previous programs, wantedly I am not using same variables for two methods of the same class. What do I mean? For example, again I am going for a known example. Inside this, there are two methods which are required. That is public int area, which is int yes. Then the logic and return type, then followed by one more public int, then perimeter, and again int yes only. So this is my thing. So here yes star yes followed by some AR of int type, then return AR. At the same time, 4 asterisk yes followed by int of some p for perimeter, then return p. So therefore, here my question is, when it comes to the same class methods, can we have a same variable name or not, is my question. Here in first method input parameter type, I am using yes. And here also I am using yes, both are small yes only. Is it allowed like this or it's a syntactically not allowed? That's my
It is
question.
allowed, sir.
So the
It
answer
is
to
allowed, sir.
my question, yeah, because
Because it's in different methods.
yeah, even though they are in the same class, we may say because they are in the same class, we can't use the same variable more than once. But remember, when it comes to method starting and method ending and method parameters, all these variables, whatever we are using inside this method header and method body, they are only alive or available to this method. Outside, they are not existing. That's the reason in a different method as a parameter or as a method body also, we can use the same variables. It is perfectly allowed in Java. And when it comes to meaningful programming, this is how we are going to use it. We are going to use the same way because it's the same side has to be there for area and perimeter, no? For one square. Different methods we can use. Within the same method body, for example, here in place of this AR, can I use yes once again? No, because yes is already used. Its type is integer. Then can we use once again yes with integer type? Not possible. That's the point. This is not allowed, but this is allowed. This is allowed. Clear? Yeah. So my let me make one question of this. So is it allowed to use same variable in two different methods? Two different methods of same class or different class? Of same class is my question. Yeah. Is it allowed? to use the same variable name for two different methods in same class? The answer is, if this is the question, then the answer is allowed. This is allowed. Am I clear? Yeah, so this is the first one point to know. Then followed by, let me take one more example. So in this example, if I take one class, say sample, then inside this sample class, so I am taking public, then void some method name yum, and which is nothing but some string yes. String yes, then the method body. Yeah. Then can we print this yes value here? System.out.println, the yes variable. Is it allowed or not allowed? Is it allowed or not allowed? This is absolutely allowed. We can print that variable value here. Whatever the input to that method, that variable can be printed or can be used for some calculations and all those things. One more point. If the return type of this method is string, then do we need to use return statement or not? We must use return statement. What we have written? Any string value or string variable. Correct or not? Either variable approach or value approach. Now here we have one variable called yes. What's the type of it? Then can we return this yes variable? Can we return input value is my question. Yeah, that output value is nothing but which type. This return value must be which type? According to the return type, it should be string. Now yes is which type? Then can we return this yes or not? Matching or not matching?
String.
As per our
Yes,
technical team,
possible.
it's matching. Therefore, this is also possible. Yeah. Input values can be used for printing and also can be used for return if it is matching to the return type of the method. Yeah, these are some points about the methods concept. So with this, I am done with methods concept. What is method? Method signature, syntax, terms, what is allowed in place of each term and all. Then followed by types of methods, four, with input, with output, without input, with output, and all those things. We have seen four types. Then four syntaxes, we have seen some basic requirements, declarations. Then we have practiced some questions. Out of that, value type return types, void type return types. Then reading input from the keyboard with the scanner class. Then can we use the same variables in two methods of the same class or not? Then can we use the same variable of input to be printed or to be returned or not? So these are some extra things which we may get it. So from my end, to my knowledge, I have covered everything. If you have any questions, please ask. I'm happy to answer. Yeah, please tell me. Any questions, anybody? No? Sure. Yeah. So if you are sure about it, then let's go for, yes, Parvati, any questions? You can speak directly. In your comfortable language, you can speak. No issues. Please tell me. No, no, Parvati she has posed something. Type or speak. Make it fast. No. Okay. Then the next part, in previous classes, especially whenever we discussed method calling concept, the execution flow I have discussed, like step number 1, method calling. Then step number 2, method header. Then the values will be given. Then right hand side logic, left hand side part, then return, then catching, then printing. So this is the steps which I have given. Yeah. But do we observe the same thing through Eclipse also? Does Eclipse supports to observe all this sequence of execution flow? Yes, it supports. That is called as a debugging technique. That's called as debugging technique. And being a developer, when we go to being a developer, when we go to any company, once we placed into any company, they will not explain about each and every line of code. Okay. The the company people or maybe your team leader will throw a code on your face. Yeah. So they'll give some system. Okay, here is some Java code. You understand. How do we understand? That's why that is where we'll be using the debugging technique. Yeah. What is the purpose of it and all those things? These points we'll discuss in tomorrow's class very, very clearly. Yeah. This debugging technique is the agenda for tomorrow. Then one more small topic is there. Actually, this is my flow, but because of it is important, already we discussed something scanner. So it has to go into mind. That's why I'll discuss this in tomorrow's class. Now let us go for some naming standards. Naming standards. Just now, if you remember, scanner class is a predefined class. Correct or not? Scanner class is a predefined class. Java developed this one. The next int is one predefined method. Java people have developed this. So in this, they are following some naming standards. Yeah, what are those naming standards? Why we should follow? That is our next concept, which we'll understand now. So for this, there are two types of naming standards in Java. One is Pascal casing standards, Pascal casing or Pascal naming standards, and one more is Camel naming standards. Camel naming standards. When it comes to Java or when it comes to your uh, any other programming language like JavaScript, yeah, so you'll be using some programmer defined entities. Programmer is going to give some names for some entities. So as of now, in our discussion from day one to till today, what entities we are discussing? We are giving a project name. Are we giving or not? Project, we are only giving the name. Then followed by class, we are only giving the name. Then variables, we are giving the name. Correct or not? X, Y, Z, A, B, C, name, standard, mail, and all those things we are giving. Then followed by methods also, programmer is giving the names. Because these things are given by the programmer. So then for one from one developer to another developer to understand which is a class, which is a method, which is a variable, we have to follow some rules. Otherwise, in my project, for example, there is a developer one. In developer one project, for every class, I am going to use Pawan Kalyan is a name. For method also, I am going to use Pawan Kalyan. For variable also, I am going to use Pawan Kalyan. Will other developer will understand? No, they'll be having some confusion, right? So that's why industry will maintain some standards. This is the not a professional way of giving the namings. We can give any name, but not a professional way. That's why for these programmer defined entities, Java people have defined some rules. The first rule, Pascal naming standards means the first word has to, instead of first word, each word, each word has to start with capital letter. That's the simplest meaning of Pascal naming standards. Yeah. For example, I want to give my class. Then what is the name? M. First word M capital. Then class C is capital. Just now we use some square. S is capital. First letter. First first word has started with capital letter. The next my program. Then my program. Then best example scanner. S is capital. So like this, there are some rules that Pascal naming standard means each word has to start with a capital letter. Yeah. Then once we go to the higher level of technical and all, then HTTP servlet is one class in Java. Yeah, in servlets we'll understand. H is capital, S is capital. That's what I mean. Each word has to start with capital letters. It may be one word, or it may be one word, or it may be more than one word. The rule is remains same. Then what's the camel naming means? First word has to be in lowercase letters. So here first word has to be in lowercase letters, but here each word has to start with first capital letter. First letter has to be capital, but here the entire word has to be lower. Then from second word onwards, each word has to start with uppercase letter. Uppercase letter. This is the meaning of a camel naming standards. For example, so for this, the examples, so we are using area is a one word only. That's why lowercase letters. Then just now I used get area, then two words. First word lower, second word has to start with capital letter. Yeah. Get a temperature, get Celsius. First word lower, second word first letter has to be capital. Then even Java developers also you observe now. Next is a first word, lowercase letters. Int is a second word. That's why first letter has to be capital. So such type of naming standards are called as a camel naming standards. Then the next point. So here we have these four things as a programmer, we are giving the names, correct? Then which one has to follow what rule? That's the next point. Pascal naming standards has to be followed by project names in a Java. Class names also. Then as of now, we don't know one more concept that's called as interface. Interface also has to follow Pascal naming standards in Java. And what are the remaining things when it comes to camel standards? Variable names and then followed by method names has to follow camel naming rules. This is the naming standards which we have to follow. Till yesterday, I didn't emphasize this rule whenever you write some programs. From now onwards, if you are not following, I'll take that also as error, even though it's not error. Just to make you practice. Because when you go to any interview and if you're writing the package name all capital, package name is also program is giving. But okay, let me add that point. When it comes to package name must be in lowercase letters. There is no Pascal rule or camel rule for this. Package name must be in lowercase letters only. That's the rule. But if you observe my class name temperature, one word T capital. Yeah. So here my class name test T capital. Package name completely lowercase letters. Scanner is a class name. That's why S capital. Scanner is a class name. The next get Celsius is a method name. So get lowercase C capital, then second word. Variable names. Yeah. Then here also variable name. You observe any of my previous recording class and you open it. I always follow these rules. There, it's not a right time to discuss, but it's a time to understand these things as we move forward. We have to follow these naming standards. Am I clear? If you follow what will happen, nothing will happen. Your program will give the output. But if a professional Java developer sees your code, they'll understand, okay, this guy don't know the basics of Java. Means what are the rules to follow? Yeah. Clear? Yeah. So with this, I will stop for the day by hoping you to practice all the examples with a scanner class. And any doubts at any point of time, you can approach me through WhatsApp without any hesitations.